Hey, welcome back to the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. It's a beautiful Wednesday night. We're about 10 minutes from kickoff here. Sorry for the short delay, a little bit of a audio issue, but we're ready. We're fired up, ready to go. Got Mark with me here. Landon's out slinging that pie, working burning the midnight oil, and we got producer Scott in the chat. We're heading into week 15, man.
Bang.
How did week 14 go for you? You get the wins? You get those victories?
Oh, well, first off, am I ever excited to be on this live stream and not just like having everyone read my list? I feel like I spent a lot of energy talking into a microphone that wasn't working last week. So more than just an okay face for all you listeners out there.
It's nice to have that handsome voice match the face. I mean, I know we bring you on here for aesthetic qualities, but the voice goes a long way too.
Hey, speak for yourself, buddy. But it was a good weekend for my dynasty team.
Heck yeah, it was.
I had some enormous plays out there that bought me a big win, and they got no one playing tonight. But my opponent, I think, only has like Jeffrey or something, and I'm already up by 40. So I think that one's going to be a win, and I'll be moving on to play Scotty in the semifinal. Super jacked about that one.
It's nice to see you.
Unfortunately, it's lost to my cousin in the toilet bowl for the listener league. But hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that sucks.
How about yourself, Mackenzie?
Let's see. I had like an unbelievable week across all leagues, primarily because I own Jameis Winston in every single league. So I went up against a team who had Emmanuel Sanders playing, who had Allen Robinson and Michael Gallup play early on Thursday, also had Aaron Jones. This team like completely juggernauted me, and he had Pat Mahomes, and I was like, man, if Mahomes does what Mahomes does, I'm in trouble. Like I'm goodbye. And he was only good for one. I think it was like he was 240 and one. Saves our bet too. Hanging on to that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have drawn the short straw on that one, but I'm not too worried about it.
Injury history.
Frankly, if he didn't miss those games, man, I think that was in the bag.
It would have been close. It would have been really, really close. We did 40 total touchdowns. That was passing and running. So yeah, anyways, I had Jameis save my fantasy season in a couple leagues, especially in that league. I am the 2 seed, and in this league, we don't do buys for the 2 seed. We just do a point advantage. So first place gets 20 for second place gets 10. So I had a 10-point advantage, and it looks like it's going to end up coming into play. He's got, I believe, Saquon Barkley tonight. I have a 45-point lead.
Now, I saw a hilarious GIF that represented Jameis Winston very well today. It was a clip of D'Angelo Vickers, the Will Ferrell's character from The Office. Yeah. And this was representing his agent. He was saying, "Well, with Jameis, this could be the greatest decision you could make." But it could also be the biggest mistake of your life. It's very well put for trying to sell Jameis Winston to somebody these days. But man, guy just whips it, sometimes blindly.
Like
he puts up, I think he's on track for maybe 30 picks this year. I don't care.
It's like a 1-to-1 rate. Like the way I see it in our league, it's a 6-point touchdown, like 6 points per touchdown. So, I mean, if you go down the field and you throw over like 40, 50 yards and then throw a pick, well, I'm up a couple points. If you throw the pick and then you go down the next drive and you throw a touchdown, that's +4. So from a fantasy perspective, Jameis just keep throwing it because the yardage totals are high. The touchdown totals are high. But from like a football perspective, like, I mean, you're a Bucs fan. You're the perfect person to ask. Is he not so frustrating to watch as a fan?
Well, I think the one word that I heard to describe him and Bruce Arians' relationship is just like it's like an illusion. It's like they are completely disingenuous and they don't actually realize the harm that's being caused, but they more celebrate end of it. So you'll see him come off like 4 picks, and then post game Bruce Arians will say that you'd think the guy just won like the Heisman again or won the Super Bowl or something, but it's just, it has been gruesome at times, but it has been glorious at times. So yeah, hard to say, but I honestly think he's going to be a Buccaneer next year.
Oh,
no matter what happens.
Jameis? Yeah. Oh yeah. Why would he go anywhere? Now, tough to see your boy Mike Evans go down.
I'll say, yeah.
I mean, luckily he did score a touchdown on that, 61-yard run?
Yeah, I think, and that's like fantasy owners are pretty, relieved, I guess, about that. But ultimately, with that guy on your team, and I love Mike Evans. He is a top 5 talent in the league anyway, and makes some incredible grabs. He and Chris Godwin together are the most dangerous receiver tandem in the league, and there's no denying that.
Yeah, I mean,
So yeah, I'm gonna miss him.
Number 2 and number 3 wide receivers on the year going into that matchup.
Going into last
Crazy,
week,
man.
yeah, insane.
Just as we approach game time here, if you are hanging out with us, thanks for dropping by. We do this every single week. Zach Ertz was a question mark. He is going to play in this game. I know last week he was, a game time decision. He is going to play tonight as well. I'm really hoping for a Zach Ertz week. I mean, the matchup is juicy against the Giants. Would be really, really nice to see him targeted and involved, but Dallas Goedert's kind of been a nuisance the whole season for his upside. And then just to report quickly, if you didn't know, Evan Ingram will not play tonight. He is out.
So you're an Ertz owner. You have Ertz lots of places, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
I'm surprised you're not sounding more stressed right now. You must have a pretty solid ground laid beneath your feet right now going into these matchups, or finishing off these matchups, I should say.
Yeah, more like that. So in the listener league, it is now our team, the Four Musketeers. We have Zach Ertz playing tonight at the tight end position, and we have, I believe, like a 30 or 40 point lead.
Okay. Yeah.
So Buck Waldrop has Saquon Barkley, and I believe one other player, but we have Ertz and like a 40 point lead. So.
Okay, rough estimate. How many points is it?
I could see probably like 5 receptions and like 50 or 60 yards, no touchdown. That's kind of what I'm not gonna be mad if that's what he gives me. I'm not gonna be happy either. It's just at this point, that's kind of what the expectation is.
Mac realism for you there, folks.
I mean, the upside here is like 100-yard games and a touchdown, but I don't see that happening because it hasn't happened for ages. Kind of like this Jimmy Garoppolo game, not to pivot too quickly, but I got a lot of heat for some friends being like, yo, why did you tell me to start Jimmy Garoppolo? Well, he's literally been flaming trash, or he's won you a week. And for me to predict that made, absolutely no sense, came out of nowhere. But to think that they would go in against New Orleans in a potentially hostile environment, and for him to do what he did, no one saw that coming.
No, and that's the type of thing where the game wasn't going to be touted as a huge offensive battle, right?
And there was 100 points put up.
Yeah, it's that is a bookie's nightmare, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Hit the over in the first half.
2 ways, right? It was either going to be a low-scoring defensive game or an insanely efficient offensive game where they both scored 1 million touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, there was 5 touchdowns thrown in the opening quarter?
Crazy.
Yeah, they hit the over in the first half, and it just never really stopped. So that was wild.
I was still taking my headset off and setting lineups. I think I'd seen 3 touchdowns.
No,
signing off with you guys.
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm still looking at about the 4:00 games and any later on implications, and sure enough, boom, 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 touchdown. Like, what is happening in this game? But Drew Brees, number one quarterback, number one fantasy player on the week, 40 fantasy points.
So I think that kind of solidifies Garoppolo as a week-to-week start. What do you think from here on out?
Yeah. I don't. To be completely honest, I don't fully buy in.
To me, I think it's just. I think yesterday is the true like caveat of the trade for Emmanuel Sanders being like unbelievably valuable for that team. And now we're just going to see that rapport getting better and better. You can see that he trusts him on both short and long routes. He's still got the strongest and toughest tight end in the league making his way down the field. There are just so many variables on that offense, so many ways for them to move the ball. And Jimmy G is clearly using great vision right now and finding a lot of those guys, making them all relevant. Right. So I think he's got like that leadership potential, and it is just finally blossoming right now with what I think is a super well balanced team at every position.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his starts here, and I know that their offense has just been clicking a little bit more every single week, but even going back to like week 5, fantasy finishes 14, 13, 7, 14. Then they go up against Arizona, division mate, who's the first. They give up the most points to the fantasy quarterback. 28. First real breakout game for him. Then they go back to play Seattle, another divisional game, 11. Then they play Arizona again, 31. So, again, in a good matchup, Jimmy's slinging it around. They play Green Bay, 18. They douse them, but mostly on the ground. Play Baltimore, tough matchup, 9.
Yeah.
So going into that game, he had gone Green Bay, 18, in a very run-heavy game. Baltimore, 9 points. They didn't really show up, and then all of a sudden just tosses up 29 again against New Orleans, who gives up the 10th most points to the fantasy quarterback. So going into this week and the week after, he's got the Falcons, who are the third. They give up the third most points to the fantasy quarterback. So a really
that's
juicy
entire season. That is an entire season
Correct.
stat. Their second half of the season defense has been astronomically better than first half.
I know.
So, but for them being able to, I feel like Atlanta is going to give San Francisco a bigger challenge than they think. But still, I think they're more of a balanced run to pass team. They're tough to judge in that sense. So I think he's got a good chance of putting up above 20 points on Atlanta this week.
I would buy 20. I would absolutely buy 20. It's just, does he have the week winning performance in him again? That's kind of where my head's like, I don't know. In championship week, that's what I'm kind of looking for, and I don't really want to be cute to get there, but I do really like the matchup. It would be, maybe we compile that data for the podcast on Saturday if we can get the traditional, meaning like season-long total on like Atlanta's defense versus the trending. Maybe look at the last 3 or 4 weeks and see, traditionally what they give up over the course of the season, and then trending the last couple just to kind of prove your point, because I think there might be some value in that. But yeah, 20 points from Jimmy G against Atlanta is pretty much a lock, I think.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did it against the Rams either, at home in San Francisco. That is going to be an insane game.
It's going to be great.
Just, the viewership and just being able to watch that game on Week 16, that's going to be lit as far as fantasy goes, and it's going to be lit as far as that division goes.
As some of my students say, it'll be lit AF, fam.
That's right. Yeah. Short for family.
We'll just rifle off some of the studs here. We talked Breeze and Winston. Mitch Trubisky, third highest scoring fantasy player on the week. Yes, I said Mitch Trubisky. Please don't play Mitchell Trubisky if you are a fantasy owner. Just don't. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Even a blind squirrel finds the odd nut. Just let this one go. You missed it, and don't ever think about chasing the points. AJ Brown, who we're going to talk about shortly. You see him over to my left. It's always backwards and it messes me up. You see him on the left side of the screen here, and we're going to talk about him only owned in 26% of leagues. Went absolutely banana land. 5 for 153 and 2 tutties. That guy looks unbelievable. And to your point, Ryan Tannehill is he's a man possessed.
Oh, man. The fact that he has just upscaled the offense so much since the last time Mariota played football really has completely shifted the way I think about the Tennessee Titans. I actually have faith in that team for the first time since McNair was under center. And I think I was
going
12.
Back. That's going back.
Yeah. No, honestly, they have been year in, year out one of the most boring and, because of their ineffectiveness, teams in the NFL. And even, our podcast has had its fair amount of doubt around that team, around any type of performer on that team. Guys like Corey Davis that we get high on for 2 seconds and then instantly get shot out of the sky when he puts up bad week after bad week. Guys like Derrick Henry, who got dragged through the mud for so long, where, he's one of the best just players in the league right now. Not to mention fantasy, he is leading that team to be one of the stronger AFC.
Certainly
contenders.
Making a comeback for themselves. Yeah.
Well, comeback. I think maybe changes the perspective a little bit too. But you got to think
they can win that division.
That's one of the worst offensive lines, or we were saying one of the worst offensive lines in the league. One of the worst penalty taking teams in the league.
You're right.
But now look at them. It just seems like they have figured out a way to take their personnel and to take a quarterback who's been around and to make them just shut down other teams. And it's because of that defense, too. You cannot deny that.
Their defense is fantastic. I'll definitely give them that. Emmanuel Sanders had himself a day, 2 touchdowns early in the game, and then decided he would throw for one himself on a rather beautiful toss. I can't remember who caught it. Was it Debo?
Mostert.
Oh, it was. You're right. It was Raheem Mostert, who also had himself a day. Deshaun Watson comes in as a top 6 fantasy quarterback, and this is one thing about garbage time that really rubs me the wrong way. It's if you watch that game, Deshaun Watson and the Texans got absolutely boat raced. It was 30. Yeah. I don't even know what it was at one point, 31-3, and
that whole team, that team drives me nuts trying to watch them.
Yeah, it's insane.
How are you supposed to invest stock into a team that's so up and down? In my eyes,
this is a team that's supposed to be competing for a playoff spot, leading or winning their division, and you go up against Denver, a team with a horrific losing record, with a rookie quarterback, and you get destroyed. Garbage time started in the third quarter.
Hey, there's some interesting football being played in Texas right now, and none of it is really impressive.
No, that's true. Rip Dallas.
Not a good defensive player in Texas at the professional level.
Aaron Jones had himself a day. It's good to see for Green Bay, although they barely took care of the Redskins. Joe Mixon led the week in rushing yardage, yet no one's talking about it. 146 yards on the ground. Joe Mixon was fantastic in a loss to the Cleveland Browns. Why is no one talking about Joe Mixon, Marky?
Well, because they are still they're still a one-win team.
Correct.
They have zero identity. What can you I feel like Joe Mixon is still he's always been a weekly play. Mm-hmm. And there hasn't been too many weeks where that's hurt you, but he's not being talked about because even anything he can salvage right now won't bring him into. So what is Mixon at right now in a standard league? What's your guess before you look?
What's his ranking?
Yeah, ranking standard league. I'm gonna say RB20, RB21.
You're probably not far off, to be completely honest. I'm gonna guess. I don't think it's lower than that.
It is.
Okay, I'll go 18.
He's actually RB13.
Wow, really?
Really. And he has, over the last 5 games, He's put up 15 plus, except against Pittsburgh, where he put up 8. So I should say going back 6 games. He has put up more than 15 points in the last 5 out of 6 games.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, it's like I say, if it's not going to win the Bengals games, then no one's going to be talking about it. And like you're right. I think he does get kind of shat on a little bit unfairly. But I do start him week to week.
It's more of a Cincinnati Bengals problem than a Joe Mixon problem.
That's exactly it. Like, he is a phenomenal player and just doesn't quite have the pieces around him for that to be monumental or to be juicy.
Right. We gotta get going on the waivers here. A quick shout out to Robert Woods and Todd Gurley for putting my fantasy teams on their back last night and securing me some victories. I really hope that this would be a Robert Woods game, and very early on, it was a Robert Woods game. And slowly but surely, Todd Gurley chipped himself a victory out of what seemed to be the most hard, and I don't even know how to characterize it here. Just chisel our way to victory through adversity. And I know that you're a Gurley owner because of me, and you're welcome.
I am.
And
I am. That's not the only league I owned him in, and I was, thrilled to see that performance for the one team that actually won my week yesterday. But how are you feeling now? Just still thinking about the trade we made. For the record, if you're listening to this and didn't know, we talked about it maybe 5 weeks ago when we made the trade. Yeah. I traded Mac straight up. OBJ for Gurley, and I have been pretty dang happy
in a
since
dynasty.
then. In a dynasty league, yes.
I don't regret it. Although it will be the only spot I own Odell Beckham Jr. next year.
That sounds like a pretty contradictory sentence right there.
I am pot committed.
You can't even look at me straight in the eye.
I can't. Damn it. All right, waivers.
Okay, let's get into these waivers, baby.
AJ Brown.
Love him.
Unbelievable performance, putting the Tennessee Titans on his back. Ryan Tannehill has totally transformed this offense. He's only owned in 26% of leagues, which seems a little bit crazy. That number is going to skyrocket. Absolutely jump through the roof.
Every week he's making bigger plays than he did the week before.
And when you watch him play football, he is a guy that just looks explosive. When he gets the ball, he does something with it. He is one play away from blowing a game wide open, from giving you a week's worth of fantasy points. And if I'm going to take a shot on a guy, and AJ Brown, don't get me wrong, is going to be a flex play for me. But I want the guy in my flex play to be able to go off and have the highest ceiling on my team. That's what I want. That's what AJ Brown gives me. And going up against Houston next week, unbelievable. Nice little matchup here.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they're no world beater on defense, but they just, to sort of weaken them or soften them a little bit from where they stand right now, 12th in terms of total fantasy points given up to wide receiver season long. They just got torched by Drew Lock, rookie quarterback, and the Denver Broncos, who really have no real passing weapons. So other than Cortland Sutton, who had himself a poor game. I'm all in on A.J. Brown here for the remaining weeks. They got New Orleans in week 16. So I think it's just flex. Get this guy on your roster.
Would you start A.J. Brown over Cortland Sutton?
Yes, I would. Yes.
Really? You heard it first. I personally, I don't know if I would go that far, but this guy is clearly an electric player. If you're going to be able to pick him up for Dynasty, I think he's got tremendous value. I love him. He's first of all, he is a great rookie receiver, and there are a lot of great rookie receivers.
You ain't wrong.
It's crazy.
They got to go play KC next week, though.
Yeah, KC has been making a lot of changes on defense, too. They have been playing way better. At the pass defense, they used to be guys that could let up a lot through the air, but you're seeing some way better schemes out there, as you saw last night. the final goal line shutdown on Brady, his throw on Edelman. You're seeing them play a lot better defense. So AJ Brown could be a bit of a risky play, but also they're going to be on their toes trying to stop Derrick Henry. Well, even if he is hobbled, I feel like this team is driven to win games. You've seen them win games, and I think he is a big part of that. So if nothing else, he will have double-digit targets, and I feel like he is a sure-handed, reliable enough player to haul in 3/4 of them.
What would you spend on AJ Brown if he was available on your waiver wire? Which in most leagues he should be there.
Well, 1 week left. Yep. I would say at this point, I'm the type of guy who does use. I go through a lot of waiver wire pickups throughout the season, so I wouldn't have a lot left. I would say I'd go up to 100% on it at this point. I would. Why not?
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? There's 1 week left.
You got 1 week left. Make sure if you're gonna go Hundy, which I always like to leave a few remaining dollars for defenses or any last minute, but have those things in place if there's only 2 weeks left. But yeah, man, you could definitely spend all of it. I'm gonna put anywhere from 70 to 100%. I think he could be that valuable the next 2 weeks with some really, really nice matchups. Oh, percent. That ain't good.
And shout out Tannehill once again for playing just the best football of his career.
Football, yeah. No, dude's been going off. You gotta.
And if you don't waiver wire discourse here, may as well put him in the same boat. Get get Tannehill if you need him. Like he is.
Are we putting Tannehill number 2 here? That seems wrong.
I love it.
Seems
really
wrong. Okay.
Well, I think it was just the tackle alone that really pushed him over the top for me.
After
throwing his own pick,
throws the pick,
just eagle eyes the dude with the ball, and he's like, not so fast.
It's a good hit, man. From an older dude, that was a serious little hit he threw down there. If Raheem Mostert is still available, which can you get his ownership percentage really quick? That would be great.
How quick do you think we can get it?
I'd give you like 10 seconds, I think.
52%.
52. So that's definitely still in the category here. Look, what are you spending on Raheem Mostert? Do you buy in? He's had 2 back-to-back weeks of utter dominance. Do you buy into a third? That is the question. He is basically gone 19 attempts, 10 attempts, got a little bit more done through the air, scored 2 touchdowns last night, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. Do you buy into another Mostert domination against the Atlanta Falcons next week?
So I feel like the Falcons, we touched on how much better they've gotten, but I feel like it hasn't primarily been their ability to stop the run, and it hasn't been against teams of this caliber. Right. So really tough to say. Mostert has shown tremendous versatility. So I'd be willing to say he has, if nothing else, touchdown upside.
He does. You're right.
But I would say, you know what?
Yeah,
again, there's a week left, right? So based on need of your team, he could be in that same wheelhouse of spending the rest of your fab if that's what you need.
I mean, what if you lost, like, let's say, Darius Geis?
Oh, then you spend every bit of your fab on Raheem.
Is he the best available running back right now? I would say yes. His role, even though Tevin Coleman is healthy and there was no undisclosed injury that came to light later in the week, like Tevin Coleman just straight up lost his job to Raheem Mostert, and Matt Breida's back, but Raheem Mostert still got the spotlight. So,
I mean, unless you put a lot of stock into the Oakland Raiders and what's his name, DeAndre Washington.
Yeah. I don't, because it's
he's not guaranteed an exclusive role in that offense.
And as soon as Josh Jacobs comes back, it's going to be the show.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think maybe. Oh, one other guy actually that I wanted to talk about was Chris Thompson.
Your boy.
So I don't put a ton of stock into anything the Redskins do, but we saw Geis have an awesome week.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Peterson. We've seen Peterson do everything at this point, but we know that Peterson can't do 100% of the running. So if Geis misses time, Chris Thompson, and I guess who would be his backup? I think Smallwood is on that roster too. Chris Thompson could be that guy to fill in. I don't love him, but he is going to be that number 2 back. And if Mostert's not available in your league, then Chris Thompson might just have to be your guy. And I don't think anyone would even put bids down on him, really.
No.
So if you're in dire straits, then Chris Thompson could be like a last minute resort.
Okay. I like in a deeper league too, right? It's
very deep.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. Tyler Higbee's going to be on a lot of waiver wires. I'm not going to put him down on this list because I think that train comes to a grinding halt this week. I'm going to pump the brakes here on.
You said that last week.
No, I did not.
Then it was Landon. It was one of you monkeys.
Not me.
It was one of you monkeys, and then I sat him, and sure
blame
enough,
Landon. I want footage.
No, I blame him a lot. This one's on you,
yeah,
Monty.
That's right. No, Tyler Higbee, back-to-back weeks against the Cardinals and against the Seahawks, who are among the worst in guarding the tight end, and we've seen that with other teams that they've played this year. Tyler Higbee now has to go up against the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys in the next 2 weeks. I don't mind Dallas this coming week, but championship week, I feel like if you see it 3 weeks in a row from Tyler Higbee, like let's just say he does go out and dominate Dallas, who they're not that poor against the fantasy tight end, but San Francisco is very good against the fantasy tight end. So I'm going to say if you see it 3 weeks in a row, how are you gonna talk yourself off that ledge?
Well, we thought that Jared Cook wasn't going to be a very great option last week either until he hauled in 2 catches for 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. So he went out, injured. But who knows what he would have produced. We were saying, everyone was thinking, it's a bad matchup for Jared Cook. Don't play Jared Cook against the 49ers. Right. Well, I feel like anytime you think there's bad matchups, you think that limits every single person on the offense. But I feel like it ascends the promise for Higbee or Cook or a tight end is a check down route. It's a guy that they're big guys that quarterbacks rely on, right? So in those types of situations, facing a tough defense, the tight end is a check down, a last minute, a solid option for a quarterback. For a guy like Goff, who has been playing increasingly better for the last few weeks, Higbee has been a large part of that. You can't deny that.
I'm not denying it.
I can't imagine this is going to be the week where that stops, and I can't imagine he's going to get shut down 100% of the time. So I still, I don't really have teams that have one of the big name tight ends, so I would start Higbee.
Yay. Okay. Just
like I would have started Cook last week if I owned him.
Yeah. I'll put Tyler Higbee in here for you. I'm not looking to roster him, to be completely honest. And I get what you're saying. I'm just saying that I think he's had 2 really prime matchups back-to-back weeks. I think he's had a perfect game script in that these teams can't cover the tight end. Plus, Gerald Everett has found himself out of the lineup with a hyperextended knee. If he comes back, then it's definitely a huge downgrade to Higbee. But if you want to get dicey and you want to, take your chance at a tight end with a potentially higher ceiling than most, then we'll go Higbee. I believe back-to-back 100-yard games. Yep.
So
what would you spend on him? I'm not looking big.
No, this is a low one, like sub $5. Even if, especially if that's.
Do you think that's going to get him though? Like essentially, you're playing Higbee for probably next week. Are you going to play him against San Francisco if you own him?
Okay, so why don't we put this situationally, and let's say I've got OJ Howard and Tyler Higbee. Who do we play?
Who does Tampa got week 16? Let's find that out real quick. Jameis Winston, he's the quickest guy for me to find. They've got Houston, week 16. It's not bad.
Who do you play, Mac?
Why do you gotta do that to me?
Because it's situational. Just like every single fantasy team.
They're both gross. They're both gross. I feel like this coming week's going to be a very telling sign as to who we should lean towards. Like, yeah, with Mike Evans gone, like who's going to step up and fill the role? That's a big piece, right? I'll go OJ Howard against a softer defense. The Niners, I know they played the Saints and they gave up 45, or 46, but
yeah, I mean, I think the Higbee situation is tough to read, but I also think he's made quite a case for himself in LA. So much so that I think he's going to get a solid 7 to 10 targets in the next game. And if he's in the right place again, like he has been the last couple games, then he's going to cash in, and owners are going to cash in because of it.
Easy's in the chat here. He said, hey, buddy. He said, hey, boys, just tuck the kids in. I need a Monday Night Football miracle, less than 14 points from Saunders and Shepard. Or I think he means Sanders, Miles Sanders. Yeah.
Dion, maybe.
Miles Sanders, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of a down game for him. Sterling Shepard, though, I mean, can Eli still throw it that far? We don't know. Can he still get it downfield?
Before he lost his starting job, he wasn't throwing downfield. I don't think he's thrown downfield in 2 years.
That's absolutely no.
Yeah, unless that's all he's been practicing since week 6.
Week 2.
Week 2 was it? Yeah.
Week 2 was his last.
Jeez,
week 2 was his last game. I know, it's wild to think. Danny Dimes been ripping it for that long. Just a quick score update. It's 2:57 left in the first. Zeros on the board for both teams.
Man, that NFC East is heating up, right?
Eli's 204 for a whopping 6 yards. Saquon 3 for 7. Carson Wentz 5 of 8 for 25.
Fantasy world is shook up though. Nelson Aguilar is not involved.
Miles Sanders 4 for 11, 1 for 9 in the passing game. Zach Ertz 2 for 7. He is in a full PPR league. The tight end 5. No, I'm kidding.
We got the mediocrity bowl going down on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, this is a joke. Honest question.
Is there any ladies golf on today?
Please, that I can bet on. Honest question. You are a Bucs fan. I will trust your opinion here. Who steps up in the absence of Mike Evans? Is it going to be Brashad Perriman? Is it going to be OJ Howard? And if so, are either of them worth a waiver claim?
You know what? Perriman's been pretty solid this year, and I don't think he quite has the longevity of Mike Evans. That's really going to have to be Chris Godwin's role in his absence. So I think it's going to be kind of a shift up for Godwin, and then Perriman, Watson are going to be, maybe targeted more on the shorter routes. Tough to say, but I do think OJ Howard is going to be involved in this transition. It sucks. It's ugly. We don't want to see this at all because there's really not much else besides Jameis Winston slinging it to those two superstar receivers. So it's going to hurt, but I feel like it's got to go somewhere. And Howard, being a big guy, is kind of in that same target range as Evans, just for making those tough
making plays,
catches and
making it happen. No, look, I totally get it.
Fingers crossed, baby.
Is he worth a play? I don't. Can I throw out a name here that I think might be more worthy than OJ Howard?
No.
Okay, moving on. Ian Thomas of the Carolina Panthers. So
I like Ian
yeah,
Thomas.
so Greg Olson's still in protocol. Ian Thomas last week had 10 targets. And anytime I see some volume like that, especially at the position like the tight end, it's got my attention. So he was only 5 of 57, got into the end zone, which really gave him a solid week at the position. But 10 targets is really, really interesting. Gone from 1 to 2 to 4 to 10. That is what we call exponential growth, folks. So That's is he right. Is he going to see 27 targets this week?
Quick math, at least.
Yeah.
At least.
Ceiling is 1,000. No, it's interesting. And they go up against Seattle this week, who cannot cover the tight end. Look what Tyler Higbee did to them. Carved them up. So, yeah, Ian Thomas is a little bit of a risky play at tight end, but from the volume that we've seen and how poor Seattle is, would you play Ian Thomas with that information at your fingertips over OJ Howard? That's the question I really want to pose to you here.
No, I still wouldn't.
No.
I just don't trust a lot more on that team than Christian McCaffrey. I'm sorry, but they're pretty bad aside from that. Even like DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, I don't know how much I can trust either one of those guys consistently. I feel like they're both really good players, but I never know which one is going to be the guy. And I feel like that whole scheme is just a little bit like their offensive scheme is bungled, and it needs a bit of work for them to come together.
What would you spend on would you spend on OJ Howard if he was on your waiver wire?
With Mike Evans out, probably like a 25 to 33% range. Maybe even 40%.
Oh, I'm going to put down 30 here.
Hey.
Yeah.
Like I say, things change in the second last week, right? Like, when else are you going to be able to use this cash? Yeah. Don't finish your season with cash left on your fab, people.
Now, we've got Tyler Higbee ahead of those two options. He's at 15% fab. I said 7 to 10 for Ian Thomas just because I don't think you'll have to spend up to get him. I think 15% will get it done for Tyler Higbee. I'm not overly thrilled about the matchup. You are. OJ Howard at 30. You think that's overpaying a little bit, or do you think you just spend it?
I think I just don't really think about it at this point. If I was going to go for it,
right,
and I put down 30% and didn't get him, obviously there's people out there that want him more than me. But frankly, I feel like 30% is it's not a number that I would lose sleep over going into the second last week.
Fair enough.
So why not, right?
Can you get me a quick ownership percentage on Zach Pascal, who had himself a week, folks?
Dude, I just had him typed in, 35%.
Oh, look at that. We're on the same.
That's exactly who I was about to bring up.
Okay, so Zach Pascal had himself a week. And for those of you that jumped on that bandwagon this week, going into bagwagon, who jumped.
It's a wagon of bags.
We're having too much fun here. Yay. I love it. For those of you that jumped on the bag wagon going into this week, quarterfinal playoff week, good for you. I didn't see that coming for him, although the opportunity spoke to that. I just didn't know if the Colts would be able to be relevant in a game with so few weapons. But dude really stepped up and made it a game for Indy. What did he finish with here?
I started him.
Good for you. 5 of 74 and a touchdown. The touchdown really saved his day, but 9 targets. You love to see that. So, yeah, what do we make here?
But it's conditional, right? His performance is purely based on the absence of superior players.
Yes, no, 100%.
But whatever.
Eric Ebron,
that is
Devin Funchess, T.Y. Hilton, Marlon Mack was back on the field, correct?
Chester Rogers.
Chester Rogers. Yep. So Andrew Luck. Too soon? Sorry.
Really? He's out this week? I think you started him.
But I took him in the 5th round. Yeah, I hate to see it. Moving forward, I mean, we've got New Orleans, who looked really soft against San Francisco this week, and Carolina. Mm-hmm. So does the Zach Pascal train keep rolling here?
Yeah, that's tough to say. I think just target-wise, undeniably, right? You'd think he's going to get 9 to 10 targets per game, provided those other guys around him aren't in there.
He's like back-to-back weeks of about double-digit targets, so that's definitely an encouraging sign, to say the least.
But he doesn't do well if if there's a single good player on the field, then he does poorly.
That's true. If Jack Doyle keeps dropping the ball, I think he'll be the only viable pass catcher on the team.
Hayden Hurst, what do you think of him?
I just don't know who to actually put my money on outside of Mark Andrews. Like, if you're going to go for Boyle or you're going to go for Hurst, like, one can have a game, one can disappear. Like, they run a 3 tight end set sometimes, and it's wild.
It's crazy, right?
But it's working.
But we've both got Mark Andrews somewhere, right? Like, and do you have Mark Andrews on a team?
Dynasty.
Still contending?
No, not still contending. No.
Okay.
No.
So for anyone that does, that is a tricky place to be. But I feel like if you are going to go with a Raven tight end, which is still a good play, I feel like Hayden Hurst has the upside over Nick Boyle. I feel like he would be the guy to stream, I guess, in Mark Andrews' absence. But I mean, that's a big loss for the team. So Hayden Hurst is not the player that Mark Andrews is, close. But you got to think that Lamar kind of needs his tight ends in order for that offense to work as smoothly as it has been.
You are definitely right. You are totally right.
Would you get him?
No, I would not.
Right.
We've got way too many tight ends. I mean, Higbee, Howard, and Thomas, I think, represent a pretty good chunk of tight end play for this week. I was really excited last week for Vance McDonald to potentially have himself a week, and he got injured, but, I mean, he wasn't really doing much anyways. Last guy I'll bring to the forefront before we close this show out here is none other than Pittsburgh Steelers superstar wide receiver. Did you think I was going to say Juju for a second?
No, I thought you were going to say Hines Ward.
Oh, God.
Keep going.
If you see Juju out there, I dropped him in a league. That is a landmine. Like cringy. Go ahead and do yourselves a favor. If you still have Juju Smith-Schuster and you're still kicking, drop him. Let someone else pick him up and play him and get, because that's what he's been giving me the whole season. So give that to somebody else.
What is he on the season for wide receivers?
Like 30.
75?
No, I bet you it's like 30, 35. Vet that real quick. No, it's Deontay Johnson. And dude has been playing lights out. Upside City. Even with Mason Rudolph at the helm, even with Duck Hodges, he still finds a way to be relevant. Got off to a slow start, but is currently the wide receiver 49 on the year in full PPR. Coming on strong as of late, 22.6 this week. I mean, he did have...
Juju's 55th overall, by the way, in standards.
Where's Odell, just out of curiosity?
What's your guess?
30.
Yeah, they're pretty close. That's 33.
Oh, man.
But Deontay
Johnson. And he will be low-owned. He will be, very available for you. Next 2 weeks, peeking at that schedule, Buffalo. Oh, don't love that. But New York Jets.
So
might be a good little championship week flex play. Just saying.
So the one criterion that this guy brings to the table is his special teams
Yes,
play.
that is true.
Despite being quite efficient as a receiver yesterday, catching 6 of 8, he did also return a punt for a touchdown, which is quite a rarity in the NFL, especially for a guy who's heavily involved in an offense. Usually see a bit of separation between heavily used guys on offense and big names for special teams. But if you can snag somebody who can be relevant in both, then by all means, that is more fantasy points for you.
So what are you spending on for Fab? It's going to be low, I think, for me because.
Oh, I think it's going to be low because I don't think this is the natural this is the natural choice. Nor has any Steeler really been this year.
True, you're very right.
So yeah, this is maybe this is like a 5 to this is probably like maybe 10%er.
Would you? So we've got Zach Pascal down as 5. Does that change where you would put Johnson, or would you want to bump Pascal?
I would put. I mean, I think Pascal at 5% is low. I think Pascal would be like 15 or 20 because
let's put him in at 15.
You're not gonna get Pascal for that low. I feel like Deontay is kind of in the same wheelhouse, 10 to 15. That was an impressive week from him.
Truly was.
I don't love the Steelers overall, but super efficient day from Hodges. And not really much else to write home about the Steelers. So, yeah, any bit of excitement there, you take what you can get, right?
No, they are bad. Well, listen, thanks for kicking it with us. If you're still here, or you were here, or you check back in, or you just randomly find us through the YouTube algorithm, go ahead and click the subscribe button. We would really appreciate it. It's right down here. Right down there. Go ahead and click it. We do this every single week, actually twice a week. We do it Sunday mornings. We do a live stream basically from noon till kickoff, EST. And we also do it on Mondays. We get you ready for your waiver wires so you have this information readily available to you for a day or two before you go ahead and make those bids. Hopefully you are on a Fab system. If you are on a waiver, continuous waiver rolling priority, I would spend first priority on A.J. Brown, Raheem Mostert, and that's about it on this list. Everybody else I would probably go in and scoop after waivers have cleared because they'll probably still be there, especially guys like Ian Thomas. But yeah, we do this every single week. Our main video and podcast comes out on Saturday, hence the Saturday morning snap. So look, you've been here long enough. Go ahead and enjoy this game. I know it's a donuts game. Zach Ertz just picked up a 24-yard reception.
Hey, at least something happened.
So go watch the game. Marky, thanks so much for kicking it with me here. Glad we could do this week with audio. Really big step up for us in this little duo.
Yeah, anyone still listening out there, find us on Spotify, find us on YouTube, find us on Twitter. Handles are available in the episode descriptions, and week in, week out, we'll have something else for you. Shout out to Scott and Landon.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
We'll see ya.